Welcome back to your weekly roundup of everything that happened in Zenless Zone 0, where we will cover everything that you missed inside and outside of the game. And this week, there's a lot to go over when it comes to news coming out of the patch 3.0 beta. However, starting things off first with in-game news right now for the current patch, this week starting on Wednesday the 20th will be the start of a double drop period for routine cleanup or area patrols. I.e., whichever one you want to call it, it is double disc drops for 5 days from Wednesday until Monday. And then on Friday will be the regularly scheduled Deadly Assault reset. This time around, the bosses on rotation will be the notorious Dead End Butcher, Ye Shion, the Thrall, not the Thrall, and the Discordant Solo Vesper. But otherwise though, in terms of in-game news, that's pretty much it. It is 2.8 after all. I'm sure a lot of the efforts are going towards 3.0 instead, so not too much happening in-game right now. Otherwise though, over on the social media side of the game, some testing has begun, specifically with a new round of signups for the Holo Vanguard Open Beta. As usual, this is a sort of beta test that you can sign up for, and if you are chosen, you'll be able to participate in a confidential test where you can help gather feedback to improve the game. And in doing so, you will also earn some Polychrome rewards for your main live account. Registrations are still open up until the 20th, and the link to the registration will be down in the description below if you're interested in taking part. But aside from the Holo Vanguard beta, a different type of playtest has recently begun, and that is for the Steam release of Zenless Zone 0. Playtesting has begun last week, and for the most part, it's not really that much different from regular Zenless Zone 0. In fact, launching the game via Steam has you launching a rundown version of the original Zenless Zone 0 launcher anyway, so it's kind of the same thing. But most importantly though, the fact that there is a Steam release now means that for those of you that have wanted a more mobile way to play the game that isn't on your phone, this does show a lot of promise for running Zenless Zone 0 on Steam decks or other devices such as ROG Allies. But now coming again back to speaking about betas once more, even more information has been coming out of the woodwork for patch 3.0 and its betas. Obviously by now you've probably seen that there has been plenty of gameplay videos of PYROIS, Valina and Norma, the three agents that we will be getting in patch 3.0. Obviously Valina and Norma from the gacha, and PYROIS we will be getting for free as part of the storyline. Specifically about PYROIS though, the one thing that is stand out from him, or I guess it's a stand for Bell and Weiss, but although the full kit isn't out just yet and it's not fully detailed, the one unique mechanic about PYROIS is its unique ultimate attack. And that is because when using the ultimate attack, you can choose one of 4 possible ultimates to use, each with their own different effects. One increases the amount of damage dealt to stunned enemies, another increases energy regeneration rate, and also increases damage dealt when timing your EX skill to parry an incoming attack. Another ultimate will deal a chunk of damage to enemies that are either corrupted or contaminated, and in the last mode can trigger a totalize effect on a stunned enemy. And you are free to choose which ultimate you would like when you do use the ability. Speaking of PYROIS though, we've also gotten the new engine details for all 3 of the upcoming agents. Starting with PYROIS' engine, Sol Exuvia, it is an S-rank attacker engine that gives crit damage as its main stat, as well as a 20% crit rate in its effect. But if it is specifically equipped by PYROIS and nobody else, then using the ultimate attack also allows PYROIS to ignore a percentage of the enemy's defense, scaling with the refinement level. Then as for Valina's signature engine, the Joyao Door, it provides a 60% energy regen boost as the main stat, which pairs very nicely with her core skill that wants her to meet a specific energy regen threshold to provide an anomaly mastery boost to herself. But aside from that though, the engine effect also increases anomaly proficiency by 60 points, and when the user uses an EX special attack, their vortex and windswept damage increases by 7%, stacking up to 2 times. And at 2 stacks, the entire squad's anomaly proficiency is boosted by another 60 points. This is dependent on the refinement levels as well, so this can be boosted even further. A great effect for not only boosting her own damage, but also the entire team's anomaly output damage. Speaking of Valina as well, not only will we be getting a new agent of course for her, but alongside Valina's release, there's also supposedly going to be a new skin for her that we can buy, and it is specifically labeled as a leisure skin, so a more casual outfit skin, possibly similar to Ye Wang's. So do keep an eye out for that and maybe plan to save up some monochrome for that if you would like to buy it. And then for Norma's signature engine, the Head Lackey, it provides a 24% crit rate boost, which, much like Valina's, plays nicely with Norma's core skill that also requires a crit rate threshold in order to provide a crit damage boost. But otherwise, the engine also provides an impact increase and lets the user ignore 20% of the enemy's fire resistances. And when the user deals fire damage with an EX special, it also increases the whole squad's damage by 12.5%, stacking 2 times, so up to 25% more damage, depending on refinement levels once again. As expected of a stunner engine, this provides a boost to the entire squad's damage, while also providing some personal damage increase to Norma herself. Now, not only are there of course going to be new engines for the agents, but in 3.0 we will also be getting 2 new disc sets. the Howland Salon, and the Dawn Chronicles. For the first disc set, the Howland Salon, it is very much the Valina wind set, since the 2-piece set increases wind damage by 10% and the 4-piece set allows EX specials to increase anomaly proficiency by 25 points, stacking 2 times, while also increasing windswept damage by 18%. As a reminder, when triggering vortexes as a sort of disorder with wind and another anomaly, the damage dealt is based on Valina's stats, so having her get her anomaly boosted up a lot is going to be very helpful for her to do a lot of damage. As for the other set, Dawn Chronicles, this looks much more like a PYROIS coded disc set, since the 2-piece effect increases ether damage by 10%, while the 4-piece set effect increases ether crit damage by 30%, and after using an EX special or ultimate, the user has their attack increased by 10%. This is clearly not meant for Remiel, who is supposedly going to be an ether agent, but an anomaly one at that. So she likely would not want crit damage and attack increases, hence why this is most likely geared toward PYROIS instead. Which does leave me wondering though, if they are going to go the path where every other patch comes out with a disc set, does that mean that if Remiel comes out in 3.1, will she not be getting her own specialized disc set? Or will we have to maybe wait for 3.2 to get that? Or will she be okay using whatever we have before? I mean, we do have a lot of disc sets, and we do have quite a few ether anomaly ones, so maybe Remiel is fine with that, but surely for a fancy Void Hunter, they would go out of their way to make sure that they have a disc set fine-tuned and specialized specifically for her kit and her niches. But one thing is definitely for sure though, it means that poor Norma is not going to be receiving that special treatment of a specialized disc set for herself, and she'll have to deal with whatever else we have that we can throw on her. But speaking of disc sets though, and having to use wacky setups, for that hardcore game mode that we've been talking about with trial agents, some of their kits have been found. They're not exactly the shiniest best in slot sets either, not having maxed out skills, having A rank engines, and the disc rolls not being the absolute god tier discs, and no mindscapes either, which is honestly maybe a good thing actually. The whole point of this hardcore mode is meant to be that you can't just turn your brain off and use Yexing Wang and get an easy clear. You actually need to adjust to what is given and maybe, use your brain and think out of the box. Come up with different team ideas that you aren't used to. Play in ways that you haven't before. That is how you can show that you are able to clear these stages because you are good at the game and not just simply because you wailed for Mindscape 6 max refinement engines. Again, using the Monster Hunter analogy that I love to use, those arena trial hunts in Monster Hunter always give you random ass low rank gear with suboptimal decorations to show that you can clear the hunts because you're good and not because you spent 20 hours farming, the best in slot gear where you are clearly out leveling the content and there's very little risk because of how high level your gear is. Now, to complete these stages though, there are apparently 4 stars total assigned to each stage. The first 3 are for simply just beating the stage on easy mode and then hard mode, and also clearing within a certain time period, usually about 3 minutes, with the 4th star being a boss specific related mechanic, which will likely be similar to the bonus point requirements that we have in Deadly Assault. But of course, this is all still for patch 3.0, which is still currently in its beta. At first, people were actually reporting that the trial agents would have their signature engines at Refinement Core 1, only for footage to reveal that that was not the case. Maybe after some feedback, these trial kits will change, but what do you think of the trial kits yourselves? Do you prefer them being watered down, or would you rather want them to be fully kitted out and then just maybe crank out the difficulty of the bosses to compensate? Let me know down in the comments below. Otherwise, until next time, bye bye.